Hi everyone, thank you so much for coming back to my channel today. And if you're new, my name is Heather. Thank you so much for stopping by. So today's video is going to be my labor and delivery story. I went through a lot the last trimester of the pregnancy. I was on bed rest starting at 33 weeks. Yeah, 33 weeks. So if you want to know how my labor and delivery went, let's get started at 33 weeks. I had a doctor's appointment for my normal. I think at that point it was like maybe every 2 weeks at that point. I think it was every 2 weeks. So I went prior to the doctor's appointments. When I was walking, I was feeling a lot of pressure, but I just thought it was just normal because I'm a smaller person. I'm 4'11", so I thought it was just normal. So I told the doctor, I told the medical assistant that I'm feeling a lot of pressure. I don't know if it's normal. So she was like, "I'll let the doctor know." So he was like, "Oh, okay, well, since you're feeling a little pressure, I'm gonna do an exam." So he examined me. He immediately took his gloves off and he was like, "Okay, so you're going to go to L&D right now. I need you to go there." He was like, "You are 3 centimeters dilated, 50% effaced," and he was like, "And it's not good." He was like, "You're a little early. It's 33 weeks." It's like, "So I need you to go to the emergency room right now." And he was like, "And I'll call them to let you know that you're going." So I was like, "Okay." He was like, "Don't go home to get clothes." He was like, just go." So I was like, "Can I call my husband?" He was like, "Yeah, you can call your husband." So I got a doctor's appointment. Well, I sat at the desk, made an appointment. I don't know why I even made my next appointment, but I did. And then I was walking out of the office and I was calling my husband. He wasn't picking up. I called my mom. No, she wasn't picking up. I called my mother-in-law, was texting my mother-in-law. No one was answering. So me freaking out, calling everyone. And then I finally got in touch with my husband. He called me back and I told him, I was like, "I have to go to the hospital, basically in labor, blah, blah, blah." So got to the hospital, got in touch with my mom, got in touch with my mother-in-law. So got to the emergency room, because the hospital, you have to go through the emergency room before they take you up to labor and delivery. So they did that. Got to the hospital, was there by myself for a little bit. Got up to labor and delivery, had to sign in, do all the paperwork, even though I already did all the paperwork online. They don't care about that. So do all the pre-registration on the internet. Don't do it, because you still have to do it when you get there. So don't even waste your time. So to do all that, and they weigh you and then take your insurance and do all this stuff. And of course, I'm scared in my mind. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm alone right now. I'm scared. So I get to the room and they were like, "Okay, we need you to get undressed. We need a urine sample, blah, blah, blah." So I was like, "Okay." So I'm getting together my stuff, grabbing the gown, and the lady across the hall, she's in labor. She is screaming her head off. Like, she's dying. And I'm like, great. This is just lovely. So I get all the things together. I get into the bed. They get me hooked up to the monitors and all this stuff. And then my husband comes in, which my husband was far. From the hospital to his job is almost 2 hours, and he got there super fast. But he said on his way to work on the parkway, there was a cop in front of him that was like going really fast, so he like stayed behind the cop. The cop was like kind of like leading him. So it was just, I think it was just God helping him get to me, basically. That's what I think. So we got there. This was I wrote a list of all my days because I went in the hospital so many times I couldn't remember the days. So this was March 4th, 2016. So got in, and then doctors came and examined me, and they're just talking to me about preterm labor and at 33 weeks, how dangerous it can be for the baby because their lungs aren't mature yet, and all this stuff. And like, they're saying how babies can live at 33 weeks, but he will need to stay in the NICU. So I was like, okay. And then they're like, "But we're going to do our best to keep him in you." So I was like, okay. And they were checking me, and they were like, one time it's like the second time they checked me, they were like, he's right there, your bags of water are bulging, like we feel his head. And I was like, great, this is just lovely. Deep down, I even said like I wanted my baby shower earlier because I was due April 20th. My mother-in-law and my mom wanted to do it in like end of March, and I was like, guys, I think it should be in February because I just have a feeling I may go into labor earlier because I knew my body's tiny. You know, you just have a gut feeling. You just know you're not gonna be able to hold a baby much longer than you should. So I just knew. So good thing I did have my baby shower earlier, but his nursery wasn't even put together yet, guys. It wasn't even put together. So in my head it was like, his nursery isn't even put together yet. But yeah, so they were like, what we have to do is we're gonna hook you up on what was the magnesium. It's a medication that they said that stops labor. It like just tells your body to stop contracting, I guess. So they were like, but it sucks. It's not a fun medication. It's IV, but like it's horrible. And they're like, and we will be giving you shots of steroids for his lungs, to mature his lungs, just in case he does come. So like, okay. So they did the shots to my butt. It didn't hurt. It stung, but it was nothing. Magnesium, on the other hand, hell. Excuse my language. It was hell. I feel like I was being poisoned. When they first give it to you, it feels like you're on the surface of the sun. Heat just rushes all over your body. And they like, do you want a fan? I'm like, yes, please give me a fan. So they gave me a fan. And then it cools, do you cool down? So I was like, okay. And it was horrible, that part. And then they're like, the one thing, they're like, with magnesium, we need to monitor your urine. We need to make sure that you're actually going to the bathroom, but you can't get up because it makes you weak. And I was like, okay. They're like, so we need to give you a catheter. Always have been afraid to get a catheter. And I was like, am I gonna be numb? They're like, no. And I was like, okay, this is just add to it. Okay. So they were like, you can do it. And I'm like, okay. So they get everything going. They put the bed super high up and they pull that light down and they did it, and it didn't, I don't know how to describe getting a catheter while not numb. It feels like someone's like has their foot on your vajayjay and just pushing down. Yeah, it's a lot of pressure. That's all I can say. So yeah, I did that, and thankfully the medicine worked. He went back up, the contractions stopped. What else? I stopped dilating. I was still at 3 centimeters, but they stopped checking me though because they said if we keep checking you, that will just start labor. They'll just keep messing with it. He's gonna come. So I was like, okay. But he went back up, thankfully, and but near the end, I just was like, guys, this medication is making me feel horrible. Like, I felt like there was bugs like crawling all over me. And I don't do well with medication. I don't take medication. I just don't like it. I'm a tiny person. My husband's like, she doesn't take medicine. Is there any way you can like cut it in half, like give her less of the dosage, and she may do better on it? So the lady's like, okay, I'll try it. So they cut the dosage in half, and I felt fine after that. So I was like, see, give me half of the dosage, and I was fine. So they were like, okay, since you're not in labor anymore, we're gonna move you over to the mommy baby unit, to a room, so we can clear up this room for a mom that is in labor, that we need the space basically. So I was like, okay, no problem. So they moved me over to the mother baby unit, and the doctors came in and tell me that, well, I can't go back to work. I'm on bed rest now, and I'm on slight bed rest. He was like, there's no strenuous stuff. You can drive, but when you go to the store, no walking around, use one of those motorized carts or like a wheelchair or whatever. He was like, no heavy lifting, obviously no sexual intercourse, which is probably horrible for my husband. But yeah, so I was like, okay. So they discharged me on, what date did they discharge me? On March 6th. So I was on bed rest then. I felt horrible that I had to tell my boss, like, I can't come back. I wanted to work up until I had him. I loved my job. I loved working where I worked, and I didn't want to just leave her hanging like that. Like, I felt terrible for leaving her the way I did. But I had to do what was best for my son and to keep him in. So yeah, I was on bed rest, and I was going to doctor's appointments every week. I had to go to, because I had gestational diabetes, so I had to go for every week my non-stress test, which was they hooked you up to those monitors to see how he was like sleeping and how his heart rate was and all these other things. And every time I went for these stress tests, guys, no joke, my mother-in-law can vouch for this because she went with me to every one of these. I ended up in the hospital because it stressed him out and he wanted to come. Every one of these visits, I was in the hospital due to contractions. So then I went to the hospital. I was like, guys, I'm having contractions. So they were like, okay. So they finally gave me these pills. I don't remember what the name was of them. That stopped, that like tricked my body to think that they weren't happening. They weren't real contractions, because I finally found out what real contractions were. They were like Braxton Hicks contractions, I guess. But it was like, yeah, my body trying to start labor and all, so yeah. So then on March 31st, my cousin had her son. She was due the same day as me. And I think she had him on the 29th or the 30th. I'm sorry, Venice, I don't remember. So I was going to go to see the baby in the hospital because the doctor said I can drive, it was fine. I can go visit her as long as I didn't do too much walking. So I was like, okay. So I got up to go take a shower and got up off the bed. And this was on March 31st. And I looked on the bed and there was like a spot on the bed, and I was like, maybe I peed myself, maybe my water broke, I wasn't sure. So I went to the bathroom and I thought I was leaking fluid. I don't know, I guess I was peeing myself, I don't know. So I called my husband. He was like, just keep checking, blah blah blah. So I waited a while, and then I felt like I was getting contractions, so I called my doctor, and she was like, okay, we'll see what happens. So I was like, okay. And then I called her back, and I was like, yeah, I've been feeling them stronger. So she was like, okay, you can come in. So she was like, go to the hospital. She was like, we'll meet you there. So I was like, do I have time to take a shower? She was like, yeah. So I was like, okay. So I called my husband. I said, my doctor told me to meet her at the hospital. So he was like, okay. I was like, I'm gonna go take a shower. No rush. Take your time getting home. He was like, okay. So I took a shower. I had everything already packed, so we were good to go. So we went to the hospital. We drove. I, of course, stopped at to get something to eat because they know they starve you when you have a kid. So we went to the hospital and they swab you to see if it's actual amniotic fluid. It wasn't, so they were like, your water didn't break. So I was like, okay. So we were sitting there in this room. This room was so tiny. It was me, my mom, my husband, and my mother-in-law in this tiny room. And it's not the room that you deliver in. It was like a room to see if you are in labor, if not, are they admitting you or not room. So I was like, okay. This was like around 7 o'clock ish. So I was like sitting there waiting, and they were like telling me, they're checking me like, you're still at 3 centimeters, blah blah blah, we're not sure if we're gonna keep you, blah blah blah. And I'm like, okay. And then one doctor came in, yeah, we're gonna keep you, and then we're not gonna keep you. It was like a whole back and forth thing. And I'm like, I just want to know, you're keeping me or not? Am I having this baby or no? And a lady, she was like, well, you have preeclampsia, so we're gonna keep you. And I'm like, since when do you have preeclampsia? I've never been told I have preeclampsia. So she was like, well, your blood, the first time when I got can't think of the word right now. When I went to preterm labor, they did had me do 24-hour urine analysis. So I had to drop off my urine for 24 hours. And they said from that results, I had protein in my urine, which causes preeclampsia, which I don't doubt that I had. Which I don't doubt, because my pressure was kind of high, not high, and I did have other symptoms of it. So I was like, okay. Still haven't seen my one doctor. Then the other doctor was like, he was like, you're gonna most likely have a C-section. He's a big baby. And I was like, well, can we do an ultrasound then? And they were like, the ultrasound's busy right now, we have to wait until the morning. So I was like, okay. So I had to sleep there. Next morning, I'm like, whenever we get in this ultrasound, because I just want to know, am I having my son or not? Like, we're waiting for the doctor for the ultrasound downstairs to come in, because I had to go downstairs to maternal fetal medicine to get this ultrasound done. The doctor wasn't in yet downstairs. So I was like, okay, waiting. I'm like, what's going on? They're like, we don't know yet. So then my doctor, who I absolutely love, she was on. So I was like, Dr. Hammer, this is her name. I was like, what is happening? She was like, one doctor's saying I have preeclampsia, one saying I'm having a C-section, we're waiting for this. Either one doctor doesn't know what's going on, or you're covering each other's asses. Like, what is happening? So she was like, hold on, let me go check. And so she was like, she came back in, she sat down. This was on April 1st. She was like, okay, I looked at your charts. She was like, your charts in the hospital are different from your charts at the office. So she was like, I didn't see about the 24 analysis that you had when you left at one time. She was like, and it does show that you do have preeclampsia. So she was like, so the best bet is probably to induce you. And I was like, are you serious? She was like, yeah. I was like, this is not April Fool's joke, right? She was like, no, I wouldn't do that to you. So I was like, so we're being induced. And she was like, yep. So I was like, great. Now we know what's going on. We have a game plan. Good to go. So, and I was like, am I going to have a C-section? I was like, I really, stop. Sorry, my cat dropped on my tripod. Stop it. And I was like, I really don't want a C-section. I don't. She was like, don't worry about it. She was like, I've seen girls bigger than you and not be able to push out a baby. She's like, I've seen girls smaller than you push out babies. So she was like, it all depends on the woman. She was like, we will try for vaginal. She was like, and if we can't, we can't. So she was like, we'll go with the flow. So I was like, okay. So she was like, I'm gonna let you eat something before we start your Pitocin. So she was like, and you can go take a shower and get all situated. She was like, and then we'll move you into a room. So I ordered food, I took a shower, walked into the room. They started Pitocin, I think at noon. They started Pitocin at noon on April 1st. So we get that going. So I told my husband, his friend Kevin, who is my best friend's brother, who I've known since I was 12, who's my son's godfather, he came for the birth. So they went out to grab a bite of food. So I'm like, we have time and all this stuff. And no, that has not happened yet. No, it didn't happen yet. Sorry, I'm backtracking. But I think he went home to change, and he came back, and he was hanging out with Kevin and all this stuff. And then nothing was happening. Like, I wasn't dilating, and my water didn't break yet. And I was like, can we break my water? And then maybe things will happen. She was like, we don't want to break your water just yet, because if we break it too soon, your placenta can come out first, or something of that nature. So I was like, okay. So then I finally dilated maybe to like 4 centimeters at this point. She's like, now we can break your water. And my poor husband, he was right in the view of my water being broke. And she was just, it looks like a yarn, like a knitting hook. And she was just like in there, and I was like, how long does it take to break water? Like, Jesus. I know this is a little graphic here, guys. So, I want to say, at the end of this video, there will be a little slideshow. So if you want to stay till the end to see pictures of my little munchkin when he was born, stay to the end. But yeah, she was just like, gosh, there's a lot of layers. I was like, okay. And then it finally broke, and guys, holy moly. Like, that was a lot of fluid. Like, it gushed everywhere. It went up my back, and I was like, oh my God. And she started laughing because I said some remark and it made her crack up. I think I said it was like holy moly or something of that nature. And she thought it was the funniest thing. And my husband was like, his face was funny. So she broke that. And guys, that is when the contractions started. Yeah. So yeah, they stopped the Pitocin before they broke my water because I just was not doing good on it, and I just wasn't progressing. So they were like, let's just see if you do it naturally, which worked. And then when they broke my water, contractions to scalp burst, and I was like, oh my Lord. And I wanted to just do it natural. I did not want an epidural, but good thing that I did do the epidural because that was horrible pain, guys. Horrible pain. Before I went into like actual labor, they had the anesthesiologist came in. He was like, just sign the paperwork just in case you do want it, and when you're in pain, you're not gonna want to fill out this paperwork and all this stuff. So I'm glad I pre-filled out that paperwork because I would not want it to do it when I was in pain. So when I was in pain, I was just like breathing, and I was like, my mom, my husband were next to me. I was like, guys, I don't think I could do this. I think I need the drugs. I think I'm gonna do it. And you're like, don't be a superhero. Do it. Don't say sorry. If you're in pain, take it. So call the nurse. They got the anesthesiologist came in. He came in. He did it. Him and the nurse were arguing because the heart monitor kept falling off, and he kept pushing me forward because she's trying to get the baby's heartbeat, and he's worried about getting the epidural in. So she was like, give me a second, I'm trying to find the baby's heart rate. And he's like, I'm trying to get the epidural in. And I was just like, guys, just, stop. Because every time I had a contraction, the water was just gushing out. And it was just horrible. And I'm just like, the baby's fine. There's a needle trying to go into my back. And I was just like, and he had to do it 3 times because every time he would put it in, he said there was like blood that would went into the catheter. So he had to do it 3 times, and he finally got it, and it was good. Like I felt things, but it wasn't bad. Like it was good. So then once I got that, I was able to relax and enjoy things, and then she put I was still, I think about 7 centimeters. Then no, it had to be 6 because they won't do it at 7, so it was like 5 or 7, 6 centimeters. So I was like, okay. So she put like this big balloon thing between my legs. She was like, it'll keep your pelvis open and it'll help bring the baby down into the birth canal. So I was like, okay. So we're sitting there, and I'm just like talking to my family, and we're just chit-chatting, and I'm just like, I feel like I have to poop. And this was like a few hours. Like I think I got the epidural at like April 1st. I got at noon. I got it in the morning. I think I got it April 2nd, and like I would say I got it in the morning. It was like 10. I would say I got the epidural April 2nd around 10 a.m. And then we were sitting there, and I was like, babe, I feel like I gotta poop. And I knew from like books and doctors telling me when you feel like you have to poo, baby's getting close, it's gonna be time to push. So I rang the bell, I called the nurse in. I was like, I feel like I have to poop. And she was like, yes. I started laughing. I love this nurse. So I started laughing. So she was like, okay. She was like, I'm gonna check you because when you're in labor, you really don't see your doctor that much. She'll come and see how you're doing, or he come and see how you're doing, check you sometimes, but it's mainly the nurses. And the nurse, she checked me, and she was like, you're fully dilated. So I was like, yes. So she was like, okay, let's start practicing pushing. I'm gonna show you how to push, and we'll get him started. So she was like, but let me. She called the doctor, and the doctor was waiting outside on the hallway. And so I was pushing and practicing pushing. It was the nurse doing it. So she was like, okay. and she was like, he's almost there. So the nurses, at least in the hospital that I delivered my son in, she was pushing, like she helped me push until he was sort of, I guess, there for the doctor to get started. Not like crowning, but he was like in that area, I guess. And so they were like, okay, we're gonna get set up and everything. So I was like, this is really happening. My son's gonna be born soon. So Dr. Hammer came in. She was like, you ready? And I was like, I guess so. So my husband was on this side. My mother-in-law was on this side, and then my mom was sitting in a chair on the other side, and the nurse was on the other, like they're dropping down the beds and popping legs up, like stirrups up, and they're getting the warmer ready, and then the doctor was getting dressed and getting all this stuff ready, and it happened so fast, guys. Like, you're just like, oh, like, where did all this stuff come from? How is this happening? So she was like, okay, let's start pushing. So I was like, okay. So I'm pushing and pushing. I pushed maybe, like, hard pushing. I think I pushed him out within, like, maybe 4 pushes of, like, pushing, like, real pushing. The first, like, with the nurse was, like, practice pushes. So, like, real, like, hard, like, count to 10 pushes. I say about 4 or 5 pushes. But, guys, I've seen the nurse, because my mother-in-law was holding, my mother-in-law and a nurse were holding, my mother-in-law was holding my left leg, and the nurse had my foot, and my husband had my right leg, and the nurse had my right foot. And I saw the nurse, like, had like a bottle like this big. It sort of looked like an essential oil bottle, and I was like, and I felt her dripping something, and I was like, what is she dripping? I was like, what is that? And she was like, it's olive oil. And I was like legit olive oil? And she was like, yeah, it helps lube everything up, so she's like, it prevents tearing. I was like, oh, okay. So I was pushing and pushing, and they were like, just keep doing it, keep doing it. They were like, he's almost here. And they were like, don't push. And that's hard to do. When you feel like you gotta push and they tell you don't push, and like, guys, I feel like I gotta push. And they were like, don't. They were like, I don't know what they were doing down there. I couldn't see anything. But my husband, he's like, he's almost here, he's almost here. I see his head. And then they were like, okay, do a very light push. So I did a very light push. And they were like, okay, give us one more push. So I did one push, and then they were like, okay, just do one more. And I was like, this was like the last push I had in me. Like, this was like, guys, I don't think I could do anymore. And my husband was like, hon, he's almost here, I see him. And my husband saying that, this made me a little teary-eyed. Hearing my husband say that made me get the energy to push through and deliver my son. And I pushed him out, and I didn't feel any of that because I was still numb, numb from the epidural. And well, speaking of the epidural, before I even started pushing, the nurse, she literally ripped it out of my back. And I was like, were you supposed to do that? And she was like, yeah, it's fine, it's fine. I was like, okay. And then she was like, do you want me to take out the catheter? And my doctor was like, no, it's okay, I can stay here for right now. She just like ripping things out, apparently. But yeah, anyways. So I delivered my son, I pushed him out, and they put him on my chest, and they were rubbing him, and he wasn't crying, but he was like looking around, just looking around at us, and I'm like, cry baby, cry. But he was okay because he's looking around, he's just like, interesting place. And then he finally cried, and it's the best thing in the world to hear him cry, to see him, and to know that he's okay and he's healthy, and he was perfect, and he was the most beautiful little boy in the world. And he was born at 2:45 p.m. and he was 7 pounds 5 ounces and 20.5 inches long, and he was just perfect. He was beautiful, and they took him off me, they cleaned him up a little bit on me, and then they took him to the warm room. My husband immediately went with him. My mother-in-law was like, he's beautiful, And then she went with him too. My mom came over, gave me a kiss, went over there with the baby too, and then my doctor was like cleaning me up and everything, and I asked her, did I rip? And she was like, no. She was like, you're fine, you're fine. She was like, we're just trying to deliver your placenta. So I was like, okay. She was like, it usually takes between 5 to 31 minutes. I was like, 31 minutes? She was like, yeah, that doesn't usually take that long. And at this point, I've worn off my epidural. So I felt her tugging on it. It was so gross. And it delivered, and I felt that like come out. It was so gross. And after that, and I sat up, and they were like, do you want to breastfeed him? Do you want some alone time? And I was like, yeah, that'd be great. So my mom and my mother-in-law stepped out, and we breastfed him. And then after that, they were like, do you need to use the bathroom? And I was like, yeah. And you don't have, after you have a kid in the hospital, you don't have personal space, guys, so be prepared. They came in the bathroom with me, the nurse, and she was like standing there, and I'm like, I guess I'm paying with the lady standing in front of me. And she was like, I'm pretty sure you know how to use a pad. I'm like, yeah, I'm 25 years old, I think I know how to use a pad. So and their pads are huge, but they're so worth it, guys. They are so worth it. And then after that, they were like, okay, we're gonna move you over to the mother baby unit. So we packed up all of our stuff. We moved over to the mommy baby unit, and then all of our family and friends came. I looked a hot mess. But yeah, and they came, we hung out for a little bit. But yeah, after, like, your body as a woman goes through so much stuff. Like, be prepared. When you're, especially if you're breastfeeding, when you're breastfeeding, your uterus, it makes it contract faster back together, and you're cramping so bad. It's like such bad period cramps. And take the pain pills that they offer, because it helps so much. And then you bleed a lot, and it's nasty, but clots is nasty. It skeeved me. I didn't expect that, but I was like, oh. In our hospital, they have to inspect your car seat before they send you home. So expect that. If you're from New Jersey, they will inspect your car seat. With breastfeeding, contact a lactation consultant. They have them on staff at the hospitals. The nurses do go through training, so they should be able to help you. When I went, it was over the weekend, so the lactation consultant was not on during that weekend. But the nurses were very helpful with that. But yeah, that was my labor and delivery story. It went quick, but leading up to actual delivering him, with the preterm labor and not knowing if my son's gonna be in the NICU or delivering him early or not, it was scary, especially when we were in preterm, when the NICU nurse came in and telling us, like, we had to sign consent forms that if he does come early, that she can treat him. And that there hit me. That scared me so much, that like my son could be in the NICU, and I was in the NICU when I was born for 2 weeks, and I just didn't want my son in there, and I was scared. It's scary. Delivering a baby is scary. You don't know what's gonna happen. You know what's gonna happen to you. You know what's gonna happen to your child. So yeah, it's scary, especially when it's your first. Second time around, whenever we do have our next child, I'm somewhat prepared. You never know. Each delivery is different, I've been told, so you're never prepared. But I know the steps of what can happen, or what's going to happen. And now I know my body is prone to preterm labor, so now my doctors know how to treat me and things to help my body not to go into preterm labor. So, you know, so yeah. So that is my labor and delivery story. It's not eventful, I guess. I don't know. But it was the best day of my life, and I love my son very much, and he is the best thing that has ever happened to me and my husband, and he is our world. He is the sweetest little boy. He might be only 18 months, but you look at him and you can just tell he has the biggest heart. He is the sweetest kid that you'll ever meet. Like, if you ever meet my son, you will see he just radiates happiness. He's glows. He just has an inner glow to him, and he's my everything. And yeah, so he's my little munchkin, and he was so tiny. He had jet black hair when he was born. He had so much hair when he was born, and now he's my little dirty blonde little boy, blue eyes. Yeah, when he was born, he had jet black hair, and he lost it when he was, I say he started losing it when he was like 3 months old, and then he started getting the blondish hair. His dad was like platinum blonde when he was little. But yeah, my little blonde hair, blue-eyed boy, my baby. He was so cute when he was little. He's still cute, but oh, when you guys see the pictures at the end, you're gonna see he was so tiny. I just miss him being so little. But yeah, labor and delivery, I had a good delivery. I was thankful I didn't tear, I didn't have any stitches. I didn't hurt, like people complain of hurting down there. I didn't hurt down there. Just my stomach was sore and it hurt. Like the drive home, like hitting bumps, oh, that hurt. Like my stomach hurt so bad driving home. But yeah, like the day we came home, we went out. Like we walked around, and like his first week, we went to Target. We walked around. I know you're not supposed to bring our kids out, but we brought him out. We don't let no one touch him. We don't believe in that stuff. We'll take our kids out. But I think that helped me recover quicker, because I didn't lay around and like, oh, my poor body. I forced my body to get its strength back, and I think that's helped me recover quicker. So yeah, that is my labor and delivery story. I really hope you enjoyed it. But yeah, that is it. I really hope you enjoyed it, and if you did enjoy it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. That would be great. I'm sorry if you hear planes. I live by a military base, and I don't know if you hear that. They fly over constantly. I don't mind it, but when I'm filming, it's this constantly. It's worse when there are helicopters and they're hovering over your house and it's rattling your pictures on your walls. Yeah, that's lovely. Or when they're doing testing or training and they're bombs. Yeah, it's loud. But it's the joys of living near a military. I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.